Welcome. It is so great to see you this week for our WTOL 11 Weather Hangout. If you're joining us on WTOL 11 Plus, we really thank you for joining us there, but also YouTube. A great opportunity for us to connect with you and connect with our wonderful WTOL 11 weather team, Diane Phillips and John Birchfield. How are you all doing?
Good to be here, and happy February, everyone. We made it through January, December. Winter's 2/3 done, and we round the corner into February. We've got lots to talk about weather-wise and what we look forward to in the next few weeks.
Have we really had winter yet, though, Diane?
We haven't, and it's almost kind of like, how are we already to February in 2023?
Yeah.
I feel the lack of winter weather, maybe we're still waiting for it. It's kind of throwing everything off a little bit.
I still feel like it's that massive tug of war because there's some people out there that just love the snow and are saying, please, please, please deliver on some snow this February. And others are just saying, you know what, I just want to skip February altogether and go right into spring season. Yes. Basically, two camps on this one. Do you guys side in either of those camps?
I'm always in the spring camp. I love warm weather.
And we got our wet snow last week, that good packing snow. Lots of folks enjoying making snowmen, and we really just satisfied the winter lovers there, but I know some folks would be like, I want more snow than that. You know, that's not enough.
You'll see coming up in just a little bit too, February can still deliver on snow. Of course, it is a long month, 28 days in the month of February, but it does start out with, I don't know, what do you feel about this? It is an annual tradition, Groundhog Day, February 2nd, a holiday for some that is celebrated. Any thoughts on that, Diane?
It's fun. Sure, I look at the forecast. I don't go and put a lot of stock into it. I know the data of the forecast isn't always the most accurate, but it's fun to at least.
He say it as it is. He's a rodent.
Yes. So I take it for what it is. I at least look. Take it all in for the experience, but that's about as far as I go.
John, your thoughts on Groundhog Day?
You know, Punxsutawney Phil's no expert. I trust the WTOL 11 weather team a little more, but it is fun, like Diane said, and a fun little tradition every year. Some folks would hope for 6 more weeks of winter, others in early spring.
Little backstory is I've been.
Oh.
I've experienced the whole Punxsutawney experience, and I did go meet Phil himself. It was about 10 years ago. Went out with a bunch of college buddies. A little bit of a party scene, if you could imagine. And it was cold, as you'd expect in Pennsylvania. But I have experienced it. It is about tradition, so we'll talk a little bit more about that and the history of Groundhog Day.
I thought it would be more like your Farmer's Almanac opinion.
I get you. I get you there. I like the tradition of it, of course. You can't put any stock into believing what comes from Groundhog Day. Many would say here in Northwest Ohio, I don't buy 6 weeks of more winter. It's more like 8 or 10 weeks more of winter in a typical season.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that you're just gonna rein it in on that opinion.
I'll enjoy it a little bit.
I have seen some previous morning shows of you in the Farmer's Almanac, so I was a little worried where you go with that.
Me and the Farmer's Almanac don't get along very well. Yeah. Something that doesn't get along, ice, though. Boy, it's a tough sight. And we had some really interesting weather this week down in Texas, didn't we, Diane?
Yeah, across the country. We want to show you some video here to go along with some of the extreme weather across the United States. Waves of freezing rain, sleet, and rain impacted much of North Texas. And with temperatures staying just a hair below freezing, whatever fell from the sky is likely to freeze on the roadways. And you can see that there in this video along Interstate 820 near White Settlement, Texas, where a driver shows roads completely covered in ice, just like a skating rink out there. In some respects, that's even worse than just pure snow to drive in.
Oh, wow. Ice is so unforgiving, but maybe it's a little bit fun for others. This is a dog in southwestern Utah where they enjoyed some wintry weather in that area a few days ago. This footage was captured by Dan Nelson. Yeah, kind of enjoying it there in the grass. Dan Nelson, who said it was taken from his home there in St. George Monday morning. The dog is named Zoe and was trying to scratch her stomach on the sleet there that fell in the lawn. According to the owner, Nelson, it typically only snows here once every year or two, so it's a big novelty for Zoe to play out in the snow. According to the National Weather Service, Monday was the coldest day of winter in Utah so far this season, and temperatures plummeted to -29.
Wow.
degrees Fahrenheit.
Bitterly cold, but at least out there to have a little bit of fun. And to continue on with that snowy theme, we got some video that is showing some snow that came into the San Gabriel Mountains. This is in Los Angeles County on a Monday. The cold weather came along with some lower snow levels, creating a snowy driving conditions. Some beautiful, drone footage, I suppose, here. Snow that was expected to fall in the mountainous areas throughout the day. Moderate to heavy at times, could get up to about 5-6 inches of snow. And then at some of the higher elevations, the highest snowfall was expected and experienced in the San Gabriel Mountains, where up to a foot or more of snow. How about that for a gorgeous wintry setting? And that snow did wrap up earlier in the week, but some great sights. I suppose that's what we have to do if you're a snow lover here. We just get to look at other places that have had the wintry weather and the snow.
Yeah,
Some of you are probably a little jealous looking at those videos. Others don't want any part of it.
Yeah, I was going to say some of the snowmen, though, that they've been holding their own. It's been cold enough to where the snowmen here in Northwest Ohio, they're still smiling. They're holding in there, but not that much.
And John mentioned it too. Last week we had just the perfect packing snow. I saw some of the best snowmen and snow creations that really existed. And they're still put in place in the front yard if the kids made them last week. But we're going to be talking eventually some mild February weather that's ahead.
Yeah, so we still have so much more to come. We're going to be breaking down kind of how January was, maybe some signs of spring. We're also, since it's February 1st, going to be talking about what this month has in store. And also maybe, let's see how that bet was a couple weeks ago that we were talking about. So
I'm still feeling good about it.
Can we just forget about it?
well, we'll see on that. Of course, stay with us. Let's take a quick break and check out that fun fact.
Well, each snowflake with 6 branches, but they are all so unique and different in their own special ways. I want to start off by talking about snowfall and recapping the month of January, and also eventually looking ahead to where we are going to land in the next few weeks as we kick off the month of February. We did get some snow in January, finally packed up almost 8 inches of snow accumulation, still far below average. Our normal snowfall in January is a whopping 12.3, and statistically, January is the snowiest month on average in Northwest Ohio and southeastern Michigan. This year, not so much. We were still well below normal, even though we did finally get a decent little snowfall. Part of the reason, temperatures were well above normal. Our average temperature this month, a whopping 35 degrees. That puts it at almost 8 degrees warmer than average during the month of January. Now, to look at the entire month of the calendar and give you an idea of just how warm January was, each one of those red boxes show you days that were above average in the temperature department. Those blue boxes, those are the days that were colder than normal. Our first cold day all January happened on the 14th, and we did round out the month colder than average the final 2 days of January, featuring colder than normal conditions. Overall, though, most of the month was well above normal, and you'll see that abundance of red here on the calendar, indicative of an incredibly mild January. Now, in addition to the mild weather, it was also overwhelmingly cloudy, and that's pretty characteristic of winter. December, January, February, statistically, those are some of the cloudiest, most gray, gloomy months of the year. We had 20 cloudy days during the month of January, 8 partly cloudy days, and 3 sunny days. And this sunny start to February, I hope you can appreciate that sunshine, because sunshine is hard to come by this time of year. So far, our winter snowfall is still well below normal. This looks at our total winter so far, 9.5 inches, and we are nearly 1 foot below average. In fact, 11.1 inches shy of our normal winter snowfall. Looking at precipitation, which includes rain, we're at a little over 5 inches, and that's likely not surprising. We've had a lot of rain systems this winter. Some of that chilly rain, we're just slightly above the freezing mark. So far, we are actually above average in terms of winter precipitation, and that is typical of La Nina winters, where we see the lower snowfall amounts, but still wetter than normal conditions in terms of precipitation. So what are we going to do looking ahead into February? Overall, it's going to be a milder than average start to the month. month. Our weather outlook featuring above average temperatures, that red color across the Great Lakes and much of the eastern United States, including temperatures above average. That means for us, we're likely going to see temps in the upper 30s, even some days in the lower 40s as we look ahead to the beginning of February. Of course, there is still time for another pattern flip that could bring us some colder conditions, but it's going to take a little patience for those of you winter lovers. If you're interested in more recapping of the winter season so far, where we stand and where we are headed going forward into February, this is just a sneak preview of what I've got coming up in this week's Climate Friday newsletter. You can head to WTOL.com/email for the very latest on that. In the meantime, I will send it over to you, Diane. How's it going?
John, I'm glad that we had, well, some cold air. There was a lot of red there on that calendar as far as those mild temperatures. So maybe you're feeling a little bit out of sorts because of the mild month. Well, you might not be alone. Robins, they're a sign of spring, maybe. That's a big maybe. But a lot of you have been saying that you've been spotting those robins, Sylvania, Bowling Green, Norwalk, even in Jonesville, Michigan. Vicki, one of our viewers, she shared this photo of the robins, and there's also some snow there in the trees as well. So they're maybe here for spring. Well, that's where it gets a little bit iffy if they're a true sign of the spring season. Of course, thank you, Vicki, for sharing your photo with us. But let's talk about the science behind those robins and if it's a true fact. So our robins, typically during the winter months, they do stay all year long. And while typically we don't see them because they're far, deep back into those wooded areas, because that's where we typically find plants that have berries, and that allows them, well, to follow their food source. That's why they're going to stay further back early on into the winter season. But as time goes on, that food source, it becomes a little bit depleted, of course, with the robins that we have do staying around. Well, we gotta share, spread that love. So once that food source becomes a little bit depleted, you're actually gonna find those robins go and search for food. Of course, like us, we're always looking for that snack. And that's why they become a little bit more visible, because maybe they're gonna be on that bush outside your window in the kitchen, eating off some of those berries. So that's why you're gonna note that you see them a little bit more often later into the winter. And then of course, as those temperatures do warm up, we do start to see those robins a little bit closer. Now, northern robins from, well, parts of Canada, they will actually migrate here because to them it is a touch warmer. But our robins that we can have during the warmer months do travel south. So we do see some migration of those robins, but overall they do stay here for the entire season. Thus, maybe not exactly a sign of spring. But the other thing to consider is that they do move for food and those temperatures as well. So it's a little bit of give and take between the two elements. Of course, if you have that bird feeder, they're gonna say thank you. They'll definitely take you up on that at this point in the season. And finally, when robins are here to stay, so maybe this is a sign of spring that we can cash in on. Well, they'll start to sing on their territory, so then they can start to, well, sing for a mate at that point in the season. So maybe not exactly a sign of spring, but maybe just some behaviors to be listening for from our neighborhood robins as we head here through the next couple of weeks. Of course, if you want to share your photos with us, you can do that just like Vicki did with the WTOL 11 weather app. Of course, we still have more to come on this Weather Hangout, but let's take a quick break and look at that weather fun fact.
There's a whole bunch of snow, and when we're looking forward to what could be some snow for the rest of the winter season, do you rely on that science, that weather forecast, or do you rely on that rodent known as the groundhog? I'm going to give you 3 things that we're going to be looking forward to ahead in the month of February, and we're going to start off with one of them that is most familiar to you, Groundhog Day, which is celebrated on February 2nd. It is that annual tradition where they go into Gobbler's Knob and they pull that groundhog out and ask him, well, is it going to be an early spring or not? So generally speaking, this holiday or celebration marks about halfway from the winter solstice to the spring equinox. So right around February 2nd is about that midpoint. So in many respects, you could say we are about halfway there, or better part of it, at least through half of the winter season. Now, the tradition of Groundhog Day actually goes back to 1887 when it was first celebrated back in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. It was linked to German immigrants that had come to the area, celebrating some of their heritage and their traditions that did date back to their heritage. So, Groundhog Day, something that we look forward to in the month of February on February 2nd. But again, no science behind that at all as that groundhog gets pulled out of Gobbler's Knob. Number two, one thing that we're looking forward to, we're going to consider this the last month of winter. That's what February is. It still does produce heavy amounts of snow at times. The average snowfall for a month of February is just over 10 inches of snow. And you may be thinking, yes, I do remember February being very snowy recently. Well, let's take a look at the history. We do expect that we could be seeing some snow in the month of February, and I'll get to that in a mere moment. But by the end of our last month of winter, our average high actually rises to about 42 degrees. The number one thing that can happen in the month of February is, yes, big snows still can happen. Let's look at the data. 7 of the top 10 snowfalls, biggest snowfalls ever in Toledo's history, have actually happened in the month of February, and 2 of those very recently. In fact, last year, we had 12.7 inches on February 2nd and 3rd. That was our Groundhog Day storm. And the year prior to that, we had 14.5 inches of snow just after Valentine's Day on February 15th into February 16th. We're not saying winter's done quite yet, even though meteorologist John Birchfield had showed you that it is going to be a mild start to the month. We'll always see what the second half of the month has in store. Stay with us. We're coming right back after this weather fun fact.
So we talk a lot about the weather, but we also, though, keep our eyes to the sky quite often.
We do. There's some cool stuff up there.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff up there. And maybe you've also been checking social media. Did you hear about the comet that's flying?
Yeah.
I've heard about it, but I want to know, am I going to be able to see it?
Got to look a little higher up than the clouds like we usually do.
Yeah, you might need a little bit of help to catch this comet, but it's actually, the comet was discovered back in 2000 and, well, last year, so 2022. And it's actually going to be visible because it's closest to the Earth tonight and even through tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you are going to need binoculars or a telescope. So
And a winter coat.
And a winter coat.
And hats and
Yep.
gloves.
Yes.
But we've got the nice clear skies thanks to the
Yes.
sunshine today. So that's always nice because sometimes, you know, we have this cool astronomical phenomenon and then it's just cloudy outside. So
I know. So
good
I
forecast,
think,
right?
Yeah, we got very lucky this year. So, of course, you're going to want to watch that. It starts to become visible around 7 o'clock tonight.
Okay.
And then even into tomorrow, you'll still have some chances to catch that. You're going to want to look off towards the north.
Northerly sky, okay?
Northerly sky. And like you said, hats, gloves, binoculars, telescope. There's a lot that you got to have, but it's worth it. We haven't seen this comet in over 50,000 years.
I was going to say, I can't remember the last time.
Yeah, I don't think any of us
It's
were
been a
here
while.
for it.
I was young back then.
Typical rules for trying to spot night sky items too. If you could get away from city lights, that's probably going to be your best bet to be able to see that one. It's fairly low on the horizon, correct?
It is, so it's not going to be, easily to really kind of pick up. The other thing is it'll kind of have a greenish color to it.
Ooh.
It'll kind of have like a center and then a greenish glow. So maybe like a thin cirrus cloud almost. Maybe that would be a good description
Pretty
for
neat.
it. But yeah, so you'll want to be out there tonight to catch that.
Yeah, and if you get any photos of it, I know we have some astronomers out there that have the full setup with the telescope, and Send us those photos on the WTOL 11
Love
weather
to
app,
see it.
too.
I know. I love to see those. And okay, so we talked about the comet. Let's also talk about, well, maybe betting. Everybody's talking about it in the newsroom, how their bets are doing. And well, last time we met, we talked about, you know, Matt set the line at 1.5 inches of snowfall.
We're not betting on sports. We're betting on
we're betting weather.
Yeah,
What we really
we're betting on the weather.
Yeah, what we really know. So this was for the month of January. So he said by the end of January, would we pick this up? So this was 2 weeks ago.
Because at the time we were at the record lowest snowfall for the month of January.
Right.
It was nothing more than just a few tenths of an inch of snow. The pattern looked a little bleak, even though we expected by late January it would turn, and it did. Question was, how much snow did we end up with?
Right. So we had the alert date last week. So that's why our Weather Hangout was slightly different. Of course, we were updating you on, of course, the snow that we were having. So to follow up 2 weeks later, what was the official snowfall that we had at the airport? I know you guys were watching.
It was quite.
It was definitely over 1.5.
It was almost 8 inches of snow. So
For the month, yeah.
Yeah, for the
Yes,
month of
for the
snow.
month.
For the month of snow, yes.
Yes.
We did come away with snow that our snow event or snowstorm, that nice heavy packing snow, brought about 4 to 5 inches to the Toledo Metro. We added some over the course of the weekend and even into early part of this week. A little bit adds up at a time.
It does. And
It doesn't have to all come at once.
right. And I believe that Matt's rule was just over 1.5. So do you guys remember how you bet? Did it pay out
I think I was
for you?
under.
I think I was
Well,
over. I was watching.
I went under, but at least I've got the Halloween bet that I'm still,
Yes.
still rubbing in.
Yeah, John's going to ride that all year
you win
long.
some, you lose some.
John swung for the fences for the Halloween bet, and he hit it out of the park. But this
Paid
one,
off.
Little strikeout.
Yeah. Hey, it's okay. That's, well, how it works as far as betting, at least from what I hear in the newsroom, at least.
that's why I stay out of it.
Yeah, we're just going to stay focused on that weather forecast. And of course, we're always watching the forecast, and you can too with that WTOL 11 weather app. And also, we'll be right back here
How about next week?
next week.
Same time, same place, whether
Yes.
it's on WTOL 11 Plus. We love to see you here, or on YouTube. We thank you for joining us and watching this week's Weather Hangout. Take care.